We're letting the universe guide us. You're up.
I just picked the first one.
Yeah,
on
you
top.
did it quick. You didn't even shuffle it around.
Ooh, sexy. Get your action in. Like, why not?
Why not?
Summon the D.
Summon the D. Yes. Hello.
This is Two Girls, One Ghost.
Two girls, one ghost. And we are your ghostesses. That's Corinne.
Hello.
I'm Sabrina. And this is an encounters episode where you email us your ghost stories or paranormal encounters that you have had, and we read them back to you. And we've been hinting at this one for a while because on Campfire Stories, we came up with this idea, and I think probably our listeners came up with this idea and we're taking credit for it, where we put a bunch of different topics into a hat or a bowl or a cute little
Mason
jar, and we pick the theme out and then pick a story based on that theme.
Yeah. So because we've started theming our encounters, we thought it'd be nice to do kind of like a grab bag.
Mm-hmm. Random draw.
The kitchen sink of ghost stories.
Ooh,
this
I like
one.
that.
Yeah. So we picked out some topics that were either suggested by all of you or themes that just came up time and time again in our inbox.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to each take turns pulling something out of the mason jar, and then we're going to find an email in our inbox. Luckily for you, you don't have to watch us for 10 minutes scroll through the inbox editing.
Yes. I was just looking this morning. I think we have like 11,000 unread emails of ghost stories.
Dang. We still read stuff from 2018.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if you sent it a long time ago. We will find it.
We will find it.
And we will read it. Okay. The topic is, pregnancy woo-woo.
This is perfect for you.
I know. I feel like we got a ton of them when I was pregnant with Noah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a topic that we have a lot of.
Yes.
Pregnancy woo-woo. Content warning for pregnancy loss. Okay. This is called My Daughter Named Herself.
Wait, that's so fun.
Hello,
Okay.
Sabrina and Corinne. You lovely ladies have helped me dip my toes into the more spiritual side of things, and I love you for it. I'm not going to gush. You girls already know what you mean to your audience. I'm not sure how to start my story. I'm not even sure if I've told anyone all of this. It's not spooky. It's not scary. It's just how my sweet baby daughter chose her name and let me know everything was going to be okay.
Oh.
When I fell pregnant with my daughter, I was absolutely over the moon. I was very excited, but also cautious as I had suffered a miscarriage a few months before. I also worked in an environment where I see pregnancy loss and all things that could go wrong during pregnancy and birth. Oh, that's going to be so hard.
Yeah.
Fast forward, my first obstetrician appointment after my 12-week scan, I am told that it looks like my baby has some abnormalities that may resolve itself, but worst case scenario would need to have corrective surgery after birth.
Mm.
Fast forward again to about 25 weeks gestation, and on top of my baby's health concerns, it did not correct itself, I find out that my cervix has shortened and I am put on bed rest.
Just the amount of things that pregnancy can bring about.
I know.
And you don't know until you're experiencing it.
And too, some people that do have to go on bed rest have to like be in the hospital on bed rest, like for weeks just laying there.
Jeez.
Due to what we know about my baby, I have to drive about 4 hours to a hospital that has specialists who can care for us. After about a week on bed rest at home, I'm admitted to this hospital, and that is where I stay until my baby is born. Shit.
So literally
she had to
that,
do it
yeah.
too.
Damn.
During this time, my partner is traveling down when he can, but we still don't know the gender, and I'm really worried that we haven't decided on any names. And during his super quick visit, we finally knuckled down a short list of boy names and one girl name. I'm still concerned that we need another girl's name, just in case we have a daughter and it doesn't suit her. And that night, I have the most vivid dream. I was standing in the hallway of my partner's parents' house, and I hear my parents' dad singing loudly, "Lolly, lolly," as this bubbly little girl with gorgeous sandy-colored curls bounds out of the hallway that I'm in. She flashes me the biggest smile as I ask if she's being cheeky. I wake up, and I just had this feeling that that was my daughter.
Oh, Lolly.
Lolly. Oh, I have chills already. Very soon after, I went into labor, and in a flurry, I have an emergency cesarean under general anesthetic. My partner arrived at 10:09 p.m., just 1 minute after the baby was delivered. The first thing I remember from waking up was hearing that I had a baby girl.
Mm.
The first thing I asked was, did you tell everyone her name? As I was wheeled into the NICU to meet my baby girl, Lola, for the very first time. We got to spend 7 amazing weeks with her. She passed away on the 31st of December.
Oh.
Never once during my pregnancy did I think that I would leave the hospital without my baby. Never once did the thought of medical termination cross our minds. And I know that I was meant to have her. I know that we were meant to be her parents. In fact, now that I'm writing this, I remember that in our early days of our relationship, we discussed how we both had this feeling for a really long time that our first child would have a disability. Okay, so not very ghosty. Now it just feels like I'm telling someone my story. But fast forward again. I am pregnant. And this time, the pregnancy is smooth sailing. The baby is healthy. I started medications to help prevent my preterm labor. And I had that pesky cervix stitched shut, literally. During this time, my partner's mental health declines, something shocking. And now, essentially, I'm doing this solo, even though we were technically still together. So I'm starting to freak out. What if I can't love another baby like I loved her? Is this disrespectful? Do people think this is just going to fix things and erase her memory? Despite my desperate wishes, I didn't get many signs that everyone talks about having when someone passes away. But then, another dream. This time, I was walking through this beautiful garden, and in the beautiful garden was an enclosure with this monkey with beautiful big eyes, proudly showing off this smaller monkey. And she was holding it out for me to see, almost like she wanted me to take the little monkey.
Oh.
My dad gave Lola a charm bracelet for Christmas with a charm of the same monkey in my dream, which she was actually cremated wearing, so she would always have it.
Oh.
I woke up knowing that this was her. She was showing me her baby brother. She was so dang proud. She was letting me know it was okay and that she wanted this for me.
And she was
Now
probably
I'm gonna start
helping. I'm like, but also like she's ushering her baby brother into this world too. Like,
I know.
Like I've been taking care of him and now it's your turn.
I now have a wonderful 3-year-old son with the same sandy colored hair and that big smile that the cheeky lolly in the hallway had. Said partner and I are no longer together, although I feel like life has given me a lot of twists and turns. I really do feel like this life was meant for me. Your podcast has introduced me to so many ideas that have helped me with this thing, like the invisible string theory. Anyways, thank you for your time reading this. Love you, ghouls. See you on the other side. Brooke.
Well, Brooke, I'm really sorry for your loss. That's
devastating.
So devastating. I'm curious if your son ever like talks about Lolly and the girl with the sandy colored ringlets.
Lolly, which is such a cute nickname for Lola.
Lola, yeah.
Lolly.
That's so sweet.
Oh, and then just appearing as the monkey charm bracelet, which clearly meant so much to her, you know, like that connection to her family, to her grandpa.
She's a little monkey.
Just a little monkey.
Oh. Wow. Okay. Well, we'll see if we get to pivot or if we stay sad.
The next one's going to be like demons.
Let's see. Ooh, real estate and house hunting.
Nice.
Okay.
Good old haunted house.
We have plenty of those, let me tell you. Okay. I have one from our listener, Sarah, and there are a bunch of different hauntings in this email, but I'm going to read the haunted house portion.
Okay.
Dear Ghostesses, your podcast has been the soundtrack of my pregnancy. Some people crave certain foods, but for some reason, this baby wants ghost stories.
I love that.
Between reading every supernatural thriller I could get my hands on and binging Two Girls, One Ghost, there's no way this child isn't going to be obsessed with the paranormal as much as his mama. I have always loved everything paranormal. As a young child, my favorite bedtime story was, I shit you not, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I grew up around folks who accepted the supernatural and death as part of life, going to cemeteries and telling ghost stories. And now to the ghost story about a haunted house and house hunting. This is called The Boston Strangler Victim, ?
Oh, God.
So I've always had a bit of a reputation for being sensitive about places. I would never really label myself as psychic or clairvoyant, but for as long as I can remember, I've always gotten feelings about places, both good and bad. I have lots of little anecdotes about this, but I'll spare you to get to the most memorable. I lived in Boston for 2 years for grad school, and while I was there, it wasn't unusual to have classmates to invite me to tag along when they were apartment hunting. As y'all know, you're really taking a risk apartment hunting in a city this old.
Oh, yeah. Which reminds me of my friend Allison, who would always ask every real estate agent, is this place haunted? And they'd be like, no. And she's like, really? And they're like, well, maybe.
Right.
She's like, okay, cool.
They're trying to gauge what she wants to hear. Yeah. It's always good to say no first as a realtor. And then if the person's like, but I want it to be, then yeah.
You're like, well, then every place is haunted.
Yes, truly. And also, might not be the place, it might be the person. Okay. So 2 very good friends of mine were looking for a new place after our first year. They'd had a bed bug outbreak that was poorly handled by their landlord and left them both understandably very squeamish. So they got a realtor and scheduled a bunch of showings and invited me to go with them. Our campus was at the intersection of Mass Ave and Huntington, and they wanted to stay nearby. I never lived that close. I was in Brighton and Brookline, but they weren't very fond of the tea as I was. So they wanted to be able to walk, and they could afford it. We saw 4 apartments that day, and 3 out of the 4 were perfectly fine. Typical student housing in downtown Boston. The same cannot be said of the unit we saw on Gainsborough Street. It should have been perfect. It was such an easy walk, closer than the other 3 to school, to transportation, and great amenities. But I could not wait to get out of that building. From the moment the realtor unlocked the door. In fact, I didn't even make it past the front door. I stood in the threshold of that apartment the entire time. I don't have a clue what the bathroom looked like or the bedrooms because I hovered in the doorway for the entire 5 minutes it took my friends to realize that I was very uncomfortable. At which point they told the realtor that they didn't really like this one and move on to the next. I love this because their friends basically were like, we need you, Sarah, to be here.
You're the gauge.
Yeah.
Is it haunted?
Yeah.
Haunted or not? They're like, it's perfect. And then they look to Sarah and Sarah's like,
Like, yeah, if your sensitive friend is not walking into the apartment, you should never live there.
You know what's funny? It's almost every single time I go see an apartment or a house that one of my friends has recently moved into, without a doubt, everybody asks, do you feel anything here?
Right.
And I was like, no, your place is great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Most of the time I don't feel anything.
I know. I feel like unless something has like a really, really bad energy, you're probably not going to feel it. Okay, Sarah said, we went out to dinner down the street that night, and obviously my friends asked, so what happened at that place on Gainsborough? I explained that I didn't really know what happened, but it was not good. In fact, I was pretty sure that whatever happened there was very, very bad. Even though the common space, the kitchen and the living room that I could see from the front door had great natural light and a really cool old fireplace, the entire space felt dark and heavy, and I knew I didn't want to go in. That was enough for them to turn it down, but it didn't stop us from Googling the address, 79 Gainsborough Street. Now, as you all know from your recent episode on the Boston Strangler, the first victim was killed at 77 Gainsborough Street. What needs to be added, however, is that after the murders, the addresses on Gainsborough were renumbered. 77 Gainsborough is now 79.
Holy shit.
All right, that's enough out of me. I have a ton more experiences. I will write more. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay spooky. See you on the other side, Sarah.
Oh my gosh. I wonder if it was the actual apartment, if she was just picking up the vibes of the building, or if it was the actual. It makes me think it was the actual apartment because she wouldn't go through the threshold of the door to the unit.
Right.
Whoa.
That's so sad too.
Very, very sad. I just really hope that the energy there is just a residual stain that doesn't have any like life to it.
Right.
And that first victim of the Boston Strangler isn't actually
still stuck there.
Yeah. Although there is a lot of talk with the Boston Strangler in terms of paranormal activity, that man's spirit is kind of like stuck in the places that he did the heinous crimes.
It's like Horcruxes.
Yeah.
You have to like split off a part of your soul to commit such a heinous crime.
Totally. So, I mean, it could be him.
Well, I mean, the amount of darkness that has to exist in someone to commit that type of murder, or like to commit murder, period, is dark.
Yeah. But like, to your point, like that type of murder is a little bit different because he was hunting people down.
That's true.
There's a lot of planning and intent and
jeez. I am curious from Sarah's friend's point of view, like, because they clearly didn't pick up on that. They picked up on it once they saw that Sarah was feeling weird, but they didn't pick up on that energy. Because I also feel like there are certain places that people who aren't sensitive will walk in and be like, nope.
Yeah, like so my realtor and Brian, we walked into one house and all 3 of us were like, no.
Yeah.
And this house should have been, we should have been really dazzled by the square footage of this house in the neighborhood. But
I actually had that happen in LA. It was like Nick and I at one point had just been like walking around Playa del Rey. There was an open house and we're like, let's just walk in, have fun. Instantly, it was like bad vibes. Similarly, had a lot of bright light, but felt stuffy and like it felt like there was an atmosphere of suffocation.
It also makes me wonder too, like the people who previously lived in those places, like why are they moving too? Like, was there something that happened?
Right.
The energy is just so bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
Man, there was this one house that Brian and I went to that was petite
Mm-hmm.
and like not like something that we had originally been looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But I was obsessed with it because it smelled and felt so good. It smelled like doing laundry day in front of an open window,
like on a summer day.
On a summer day, but like specifically by the sea.
Oh.
And I literally went into the basement to their laundry because I was like, what do they use? And it was just normal Tide. So I was like, that's not what I'm smelling though. And they had already moved out of the house. So it was like staged with very basic furniture.
Right.
And I could not find any little plugins, like nothing. And I have no idea why it smelled so peaceful.
I don't know if you felt this way before, but have you ever been to someone's house and it has like such a good smell, or their laundry smells so good that you're like, what do you use? And then you see and it's like the exact same thing you use, or you try to replicate it and it just doesn't ever smell the same.
It's so weird. It's like
the smell of love.
I guess so. Yeah. Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
So strange. You're up.
I just picked the first one.
Yeah, you did it quick. You didn't even shuffle it around.
Ooh, sexy.
I'm so jealous. But also I get to enjoy
now you
it.
get to listen. Sexy ghost stories.
My favorite type of story. So
okay.
The call to action. Let's get your sexy ghost stories, please, so we could do another whole entire episode about them.
I already found one. That was quick.
You're locked and loaded.
Locked and loaded. Well, you type in sexy, it's like, there's only so many emails
that's
to
true.
say sexy. Okay. Hello, ladies. I'm going to start this one by saying, please do not use my name in the story. Okay. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, say that up front.
What should we call
Sabrina? I'm just kidding.
Let's call you Ginger.
Ooh, that's sexy.
Yeah. Singing Spice Girls.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is from Ginger. I'm a Virgo, and I've been binging your podcast since I heard you on Morbid. I've never told anyone this story because I thought that I was crazy. So I would like to thank you ladies for giving your listeners a platform to speak so openly and freely without judgment or regret.
Mm-hmm.
If it were not for your ghost smut call to action, I wouldn't know that I'm not totally crazy and that ghosts be horny.
Yeah, they do.
2021 was a fuck of a year for me. Just a total and constant shitstorm of what I thought were fuck yous from the universe.
Oh.
By November, I was wilding out, just trying to deal with life. And I was also in the process of figuring out and accepting the spiritual and paranormal world. But you'll hear about those stories another time. Anyway, I was visiting my hometown and visiting some friends that I've known since forever. The house I was staying in for the next few days just seemed off to me from the get-go. I was too much of a noob in the spiritual world to understand what I was feeling. But what I was feeling was a fucking haunting. This house wasn't fancy. It wasn't a piece of shit. Just a regular house. And I'm in a regular neighborhood. My second day there, I decide I should take a shower. Everything is normal. There's only one other person at the house with me, and he's outside grilling and playing with the cats. Here's where it gets weird. I suddenly get this sensation in my nethers. It feels like, business time. And it keeps going. And I can feel this as my torso is lowered forward for better positioning. But it felt really good. And it felt like right when you wake up from a wet dream, except I was wide awake in the shower. And I liked it. And it had been entirely too long since I'd had any action. So I just let it continue. I was like, hey, let's see how this plays out,
I love that, like, the spirit repositioned you.
Right?
Like, I know how to pleasure you.
Ginger writes, an orgasm without the work or commitment? Yes, please. But then I heard something. A voice say, I wasn't able to do this while I was alive. And suddenly it hits me. It's the voice of a friend of mine that I had discovered just 1 month prior, deceased in his home after several days of him not answering anyone's calls.
Oh my gosh.
So not exactly the sexy talk that I'm used to. I was hard up for some action, and who am I to deny a spirit one last boning? I'm just glad I'm not the only one out here enjoying that ghost D. Too bad it only happened that one time. Thanks for your time and your wonderful podcast. Love, Ginger.
Ginger. Okay, well, I'm very sorry for the loss of your friend. That's really, really heartbreaking, especially like the discovery of him in that way.
Yeah.
But
this isn't some random ghost hookup. Like, you're hooking up with your friend.
He clearly wanted to do it in life.
Are things complicated between you two?
Yeah. Relationship status.
Now I need backstory
right?
on your relationship. Was there like an ongoing flirtation for a long time?
Did you ever have interest? Did he ever express interest?
Did you like make out drunk at a party one time and then you guys were like, wait, no, that we can't do this. We're friends. But then there was always that like lingering, like, what if?
I wonder if you invite him into your bed. I don't know. Just give a little call one night when you're thirsty and be like, if you're listening, if you're around.
It sounds like he's a good hookup.
Yeah.
You know?
No strings attached.
Get your action in. Like, why not?
Why not?
Summon the D.
Summon the D. Yes.
Oh, that was a good one.
I love
sexy ghost stories.
God.
I know.
Like, nothing is better.
Mm-hmm.
Literally nothing in the world is better than a ghost getting you off. I mean, I'm sure there are better things, but like, I can't think of anything right now.
It's just so interesting. And I feel like it's so interesting too, because there's so many stories where it's just kind of like this random, like, here we go.
Yeah.
But then there's other ones that develop into actual relationships.
I know.
And people have like threesomes and romances and like coupled relationships with ghosts.
I support it.
And you're open to it.
Sure.
Aliens and ghosts.
Welcome
you know
into my
find
bedroom. Alrighty.
Let's see. This is fun. I like doing this.
I know. It's a surprise.
I like how you're like hiding it from me. What is it?
Possession.
Oh my God. Of course you get that one. Well, again, we've unfortunately got a lot of emails about possession.
But at least that means they survived to tell the tale.
Mm-hmm.
I found one.
Okay.
And this is from our listener, Peyton. My friend got possessed and crazy Ouija board experiences, which is the double fucking whammy.
2 for 1.
Mm-hmm. Hello, Sabrina and Corinne. I love your podcast. I've been waiting to write you guys for so long, and I'm glad to finally do it. I relate to you guys so much, like being from the East Coast, loving all things creepy, ghosts, Halloween, and spooky stuff. I've had so many creepy and crazy encounters my whole life, including growing up in a haunted house in Massachusetts, seeing a shadow man that I call Slender Man since I was 3 years old.
Okay, well.
Seeing and hearing ghosts, and many more. Oh, and don't get me started on my mom. My mom is the most haunted person I know. She has had many insane paranormal encounters and has died and come back to life. And I'm truly convinced she came back from the other side, whatever or wherever that is.
Oh my God, we need to know
with
everything.
Someone or something attached to her.
Oh my God. Oh, this is so scary. Because I just think of the movie Insidious and that like black veiled woman going for the little boy.
Oh, we need to hear that story.
Yeah.
My mom is extremely intuitive, and her and my dad both have ghostly experiences almost every day.
What the hell?
What's fun about this is like, because usually we pre-read the emails before we do encounters.
Yeah. Sometimes we pre-read them like a month before and then
so we're
we
still
forget. Surprised. But like this, we're surprised.
We're surprised. I know you guys just love the Ouija board. So I wanted to tell you some of my creepy experiences with the Ouija board. I've always been interested in the paranormal and I love spooky things, so the Ouija board has always intrigued me. When I was 16, my friend Joe and I decided to buy a Ouija board and try it together for the first time. We waited until late at night when it was super dark and spooky. She lived in an old farmhouse in the middle of the woods, and so we tried it in her room upstairs in the complete darkness with only small candles lit.
Perfect setting to make it really spooky.
Perfect. It's also a gust of wind.
I know.
Like wind whipping around us outside, and I feel like if only it was dark out,
then it would be very scary.
We'd be so scared.
Yeah.
We'd be shitting ourselves. She also bought some Hershey Kisses and spread them out around the board because she did some research and read that ghosts like chocolate. Like a little offering.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but it just reminds me of one of the first live shows we ever did. I think it was in Portland, Maine, and it was on Cinco de Mayo. And I covered a little boy who haunts his gravestone.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, "Damelo un chocolatito." On the EVPs, he's always like, "Give me some chocolate."
He just wants some chocolate. So first we asked some basic questions like, what's your name? How old are you? And I can't remember the name or age, but it was an old man talking to us. I remember asking if he had any friends, and the planchette moved to no. Then I asked, do you want friends?
Well, that's an invitation.
The planchette started to move to yes, but then it stopped. Stopped on the blank space between yes and no, which I thought was really strange. That's how I feel. Do I want friends? Sometimes, but other times, no. Joe and I were sitting directly across from each other while using the board, and each had one hand on the planchette, and the planchette was pointing at her when it stopped. I was staring down at the planchette, and I asked, does that mean no? The planchette still didn't move. Neither did Joe. She didn't say anything or respond to my question. I was still looking down at the planchette, and I asked again, does that mean no? Still nothing. At that point, I looked up at Joe, and she was looking at me with a really sinister look on her face. I will never forget that look, even 10 years later. Her head was tilted down, eyes staring up at me. It looked like it wasn't even her anymore. The dim light of the candle cast a shadow on her face, and her bright blue eyes now looked dark.
Oh my God.
She looked pure evil, like she was going to attack me at any second. I thought maybe she had zoned out or something, so I look at her and I ask, hey, Joe, do you think that means no? Her evil stare continued, which then I started to freak out because I had never seen her act like this. I took my hand off the planchette and shook her shoulder really hard and yelled, Joe, because I started to think she was messing with me or something. After I shook her, she completely snapped out of it. Her face went back to its usual self, and she looked at me concerned because she saw a horrified look on my face and said, what? And I said, why were you looking at me like that? She yelled back, like what? This girl had no idea what I was talking about. I told her that I asked the same question 3 times, and she just sat there staring at me all creepy. And she was like, I didn't even hear you ask anything.
Oh my God. I literally forgot we pulled possession as the topic. I'm on the edge of my seat.
I literally think she was possessed. I believe that whoever we were talking to through the Ouija board was upset that they didn't have friends and wanted to possess Joe so that they would have a friend.
I wonder if in that question, there was just so much openness between the two of them being like, well, do you want friends? That they were super receptive and whatever it was realized in that moment that it could inhabit.
Enter home.
Entree.
So creepy. We stopped playing after that and she acted completely normal for the rest of the night. However, that first Ouija board experience did not stop me. I played the Ouija board several times after that. The next encounter still haunts me to this day. More than the first one, because that's pretty fucking terrifying.
Yeah, can you imagine if we were playing a Ouija board and that happened to one of us, just fully possessed?
Horrifying.
I would never play again. Would probably have to quit the podcast. I would become ultra religious. I'd only wear white shawls and I'd eat the sun.
Wasn't that a thing that a cult did?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I would restart that cult.
Okay.
Super dangerous.
And then that's the cult that they transported her body like dead across state lines. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So sad. I took the Ouija board to my house and I played it with my parents and my sister a few times. We would just play for fun and see what it would tell us. In the beginning of summer of 2014, my mom, dad, sister, and I decided to play the Ouija board, a family affair. Love it. We were in our living room and my parents decided to sit on the couch and watch and let my sister and I play. It was saying random stuff at first, but then, out of nowhere, the planchette spelled out Janet. Janet. So here's where this gets tricky. My mom's name is Janet, but with 2 N's. Her mom, my grandma's name, is Janet with 1 N. So when the Ouija board spelled out Janet with 1 N, we were like, which Janet is it talking about? So we said, what is it about Janet? The planchette went to the letter D, then I, then E, die.
Holy shit.
My heart sank. My mom and grandma were both in good health and both young, so this was out of the blue. We stupidly asked, when? And it went to the numbers 2014, 2014, the year we are playing. That was this year. My parents started to freak out a little bit and were like, okay, maybe you should stop playing. And before my sister and I could tell the board goodbye, it started to once again spell out Janet. We, again, had no idea which Janet the board was talking about, and I started to get mad. Before we could ask anything else, the planchette went to Heart. Heart. What did that even mean? I got mad and was so over it because I didn't want anything bad to happen to my mom or my grandma. So I said goodbye, but the board had other plans, and it spelled out warning. My sister and I looked up terrified at each other after it spelled out warning. It again spelled out warning once more. Spelling it so fast, over and over and over.
How can you even deny this? At this point, I'd be like, one of them is going to have a heart attack.
I had only heard of planchettes moving that fast in other people's stories or in movies. So for it to happen to me personally was insane. It seemed like it was frantically trying to tell us something. We finally got the planchette to go to goodbye, and my parents told us we are never allowed to play that again in the house. But here is where things get crazy. In September 2014, just a couple of months after playing the Ouija board, my mom was rushed to the hospital with congestive heart failure. She had never had a heart problem before, so this was an out-of-the-blue emergency. She is alive and well, but that was such a scary experience for me and my family. The day my mom got out of the hospital, she got news that our grandma had terminal lung cancer. My grandma lived in Massachusetts and we lived in Indiana at this point, so it was extremely hard to hear considering how far away we were from her. We visited in November that year, knowing it would be the last time we saw her. She was very frail and weak and ill and could barely talk or move. She was only 66 and died the next month, December 2014, just like the Ouija board said. Now we know which Janet/Janet it meant. Do you? Because I feel like it meant both.
Yep, especially because it spelled out heart.
Yeah. This is the Ouija board story that I tell people who tell me they don't believe in using the Ouija board, because how could my sister and I possibly make that up? Thank you for reading my story. I hope you thought it was as crazy as I did. See you on the other side. Peyton, she, her.
I mean, this is some strong contact that Peyton is making, whether it be via possession or via warning through a Ouija board.
I do feel like it wasn't a negative spirit with the second story, warning. Like the fact that it was spelling out warning over and over before they could close out. It was like,
yeah,
there's a problem with Janet's heart. And there was.
There was. How terrifying. And also 2014, I realized that they were in that year, but part of me would be like, am I getting this right? Is it 2014 the year, or is it 2014 like military time?
Oh, like is it going to happen today?
Yeah, at 8:14 is one of the Janets going to experience something.
I never would have jumped to that.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's because our oven is kept on that time, so I'm used to.
What time is it?
Oh, it's 2014.
But wow. And I'm really sorry for your loss, Peyton. That's heartbreaking. But I am glad that you were able to see her before she passed.
Gosh.
So sad. I think if anything, it just teaches you to hold your loved ones close and cherish them.
And Peyton, not to encourage you even more with like this sort of contact, but I feel like there's something about you that makes it easy for things and people, energies to come through. So,
and hey, at least you weren't the one who was possessed.
True.
So
you just had to watch it happen.
Like, could you imagine if you and I were in the middle of a conversation and all of a sudden you were?
Much rather, I need to be the one being possessed. I can't do this.
Oh, I would much rather be the one possessed too.
Yeah, I would vomit, probably. Also, if you were possessed, I think it would take me a beat to realize, because I'd be like, are you doing a bit?
Yes, because that is something that I would do.
Yeah. But I think if I were possessed, you'd know right away.
Yeah. I think your eyes would change. I think maybe look at the eyes.
So scary. Okay, what do we have? Something nice?
What's next?
Something nice?
Hey, Corinne, can we stop for a second and talk about something we're obsessed with?
Oh, yeah. And it's right in front of us. Because this episode of Two Girls, One Ghost is brought to you by Graza, our favorite olive oil.
It's fresh, it's never blended, and it comes from a single type of olive.
And it's straight out of Jaén, Spain, which is where half of all of the world's olive oil is produced. I'm tempted to just immediately undo it.
I mean, look at these bottles. They're super fun and they're easy to squeeze, so there's no mess. I also have really high cholesterol in my family, and making sure that I have good, healthy fats is really important. And having Graza have all of the oils sourced from one place means a fresher product without any unknown oils, which is really good for my health and my heart.
And honestly, what a good housewarming gift. And they have 3 types of oil for any task. So there's the frizzle for high heat, the sizzle for everyday cooking, and then that drizzle to put on your burrata salad.
And you can get 10% off on your first order on Graza's site. I personally recommend grabbing the trio like we have, the sizzle, frizzle, and the drizzle. So you're set for every style of cooking.
So head to graza.co and use TGOG to get 10% off the trio, the frizzle, sizzle, and drizzle, and get to cooking your next chef quality meal. Oh no, we have incubus and succubus.
You're going for the sex, I guess.
I guess so. Okay.
You know what I like about this is I feel like we're letting the universe guide us.
And they want dirty little demons?
They know how much I want sex.
Oh, this is for you then.
Even though incubus and succubus are demonic sex spirits.
Yeah, and oftentimes people have really horrible experiences with them. So hopefully
potentially content warning.
Hopefully that's not the case for an email that I just found that's called, Was My Roommate an Incubus?
Not what I was expecting.
Right?
Okay.
Is their roommate of flesh and blood an incubus, or did they move into a haunted place?
I was imagining the roommate like astral projecting at night.
Oh, I was thinking of the roommate being possessed. We'll find out. Hi, Ghoul friends. I discovered your amazing podcast last year in the summer, and I've been binging your show ever since. I started at the beginning. I'm currently on Encounters 97, and the first story was from Victoria, British Columbia, which is where I live. Anyway, enough for my gushing. Let me get to my story. Content warning, ghostly essay. Okay, so they gave it. Perfect. Throughout my life, I've always believed all things spiritual. I never had any real encounters, just the feeling of someone watching me or goosebumps for no reason, things like that. So when I was in my early 20s, I moved out of my house and in my first ever place by myself. I moved into the small basement suite, and the first night, it just felt super weird. I felt like I wasn't alone, so I just assumed that maybe it was the nerves for my first time living alone and I was in a new space. But then things started happening. My cat would sit and stare in the corners of my ceiling for hours.
Ugh.
A lot of people felt a presence at my place, and I just never felt alone. I lived there for 5 years.
And for 5 years, never felt alone.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I have never had sleep paralysis before, but when I lived there, I had it a lot. This is just even more proof that sleep paralysis is not just some weird brain thing.
It's
the first
ghostly.
time, it is. The first time I woke up, I was unable to move. I've never had it before, so I didn't really know what was happening. And then I heard footsteps coming from my hallway, walking back and forth, getting louder and louder. And as soon as I was able to move, I jumped up, I turned on all the lights, and I couldn't see anyone, so I checked my doors, and they were all locked. So I looked it up the next day, and I figured out what it was I was experiencing. I kept feeling super uncomfortable sleeping in my bedroom, so most nights I'd sleep on my couch. I only slept in my bed when a gentleman caller, LOL, safety in numbers, was visiting. And whenever I had a guy sleeping over, I'd always wake in the middle of the night to either scratching coming from the walls or knocking on the walls, always in threes.
So it was like whatever this entity is didn't like that she had another man over.
Yes, no company allowed. Whenever I woke up my slumber party buddy, it would always stop. It would always pick up again as soon as they would fall asleep. I was more mad that no one else could hear it in time. I really wanted someone else to hear it and validate me and make sure that this wasn't all in my head. I kept getting sleep paralysis, and it would just always escalate, like a reoccurring dream, with each dream getting further and further. It started with the steps, then long fingers wrapping around my door as they entered my room, and then standing over me, a large dark figure with glowing red eyes. And then it got worse.
Oh no.
It was over top of me, kissing my neck. And then the next one was touching me inappropriately, but I don't want to go into details.
Ugh.
That was the last one, thank God, and I am okay, don't worry. It did take me a few days, but finally I just shook it all off and I knew that this was just a dream. But after listening to your podcast, it's making me think that maybe this wasn't just a dream. Maybe this was an incubus. That would explain why it would act up when I had a boy over and the advances. When I moved out with my boyfriend, now my husband, it was a huge blessing and a huge weight off of my shoulders. I immediately felt at peace in our new space. Nothing followed me. There was no knocking, no scratching, no sleep paralysis. I've only had it once since, but I didn't see or hear anything. I just couldn't move. Also, the upstairs area where I lived, I would also experience a ton of ghostly interactions. Thank you so much for the amazing content. Whispers, see you on the other side. Also, my pronouns are she, her, and this is from Evan.
Well, Evan, I'm sorry, because that is very traumatizing. And I'm also sorry that our podcast made you realize it was real, because maybe it would have been better to just think it was a dream.
Yeah, just a terrifying nightmare.
But I'm glad it didn't follow you, and that in those 5 years of living there, it didn't make any like physical attempt until like a later point. It wasn't consistent and all the time. Doesn't make it better necessarily, but like I'm glad it wasn't tormenting you forever.
Right, like there was an end to it.
Yeah.
But my God, like it escalating and being kind of like creeping further
Jealous.
and further and closer and closer. Its hands like wrapping around the door.
The long nails, glowing red eyes.
Yeah.
Icky. Okay. Should we do one more?
Yes. Hopefully we pick something
Scary?
Not what I was going to say, but we'll see.
Angry old ghost lady. Did you put this as a topic? Because that's so specific.
Yes, because when I was just cruising through our inbox the other day, trying to like find some stories for upcoming encounters, the amount of subject lines that said angry old ghost lady, I was like, what the heck is happening? So yeah, I did put that in because I knew that we at least had 10.
Okay. This is from our listener, Christina. And I feel like angry old ghost lady is not terrifying and also not the most pleasant. So we got a good...
Yeah. It's maybe an annoyance.
Yeah. All right. This is called Victorian House Old Lady Ghost. Hello, ladies. First of all, I love your podcast so much. And if you read this, I will shit my pants.
Shit away.
I love when people shit their pants because it means I'm not alone. Today, I'm going to be telling you the story of the time that I was scolded by the ghost of an angry old lady. To not spoil any of the details, I'm just going to get right into it. I went to college at a small university in St. Paul, Minnesota. I graduated and got my degree in 2020. Woo woo. But this private university is extremely small, old, and most of the buildings on campus are definitely haunted. My parents lived about 5 hours away from me, so they would visit every few months. And my university had this guest house that was right on campus, so if your family was visiting, they could rent a room in the house for much cheaper than a hotel. That's really cool.
That is very cool.
One of the times that my mom came to visit, she decided to stay in this guest house. The house itself was built in the late 1800s, maybe 1880. The architecture, wallpaper, decor, and even the toilet, which had a pull chain to flush, all reflected how old the house was.
I love a pull chain.
Me too.
Toilet.
I do feel like it reminds me of when we went to SK Pierce. And that bathroom really gave me the heebie-jeebies because
yes, it was scary.
And then I feel like the pull chain toilet just flushes a lot louder and longer.
It just feels, I mean, the SK Pierce one was scary, but
yeah,
it feels European to me.
Yes. My mom arrived in St. Paul and we immediately went to dinner, saw a play, did a couple of fun things around town. And by the time she was ready to start getting settled into the guest house, it was around maybe 8 p.m. She got her room key from the front desk of my university's main center building. So there was no one physically in the guest house to watch over things while you're there. But the front desk at the main center building told her she would be the only person staying in the guest house that night. So we would have the whole place to ourselves. When we walked up to the guest house, all of the lights were off and it was completely dark inside. We unlocked the front door and immediately got to work helping my mom settle in. My best friend was with us at the time, and since this house is so old and mysterious, we started to snoop around. My mom was in her room number 4. She was unpacking her bag. My friend and I were opening every door, looking inside closets, exploring the basement, scratching our adventurous itch. Unfortunately, our adventurous itch sometimes got us into trouble and into scary situations, and this time was no different. We had pretty much explored every inch of this house and didn't really find anything worth noting. We decided to go up to the second floor where there were 4 different bedrooms and started snooping up there. Each bedroom should be locked since it's a hotel bed and breakfast style place. My friend and I tried to open room number 1. It was locked. My mom was in room number 4 and her door was wide open. I tried to open room number 3. It was locked. My friend and I both met in the middle and there was only one door left to try to open. Room number 2. I reached for the golden knob door of number 2, and instead of feeling the resistance of a locked door, the knob turned and the door opened. I said out loud to my friend and my mom, "Oh, this one's unlocked." And before anyone could respond, something within that pitch black room responded to me. It is a voice I will never forget. An old lady in the pitch black room seethed at me and very slowly and drawn out said, "I know."
Oh my God.
I wish I could send you an audio clip of exactly how it sounded. It was a very interesting dialect. Like when she said it was slowly becoming higher pitched. And then when she said no, it was the exact opposite, getting lower pitched. I know. Did I do it justice? Before my mind registered what had happened to me, my body reacted, immediately screamed, slammed the door, and we all ran and locked ourselves inside my mom's room.
Oh my God.
It didn't make sense. No one was staying there that night except for us. And the room was pitch black. Not even the soft glow of a phone screen lighting up someone's face. My mom stayed there the rest of the night and said she never heard or saw anyone else. No one using the bathroom, no one leaving early in the morning, etc. As soon as this encounter happened, I knew right away it was a ghost. It was like my body could feel it, and it was a fact. I still get chills telling the story, and I hope that cranky old lady is doing well and hopefully finding some peace on the other side. I really don't have many other theories about who she is, but maybe the original owner of the house, or who knows. Whoever she was, it was clear she was not happy that I was snooping around the house. Remember to always be respectful when exploring places, especially old places that probably have ghosts or entities still residing there. Happy hauntings, Christina.
It's kind of confusing because the other rooms were locked. And so I feel like if the old lady really didn't want anyone coming into that room, she could have locked it herself or gone to one of the locked rooms. So it's like this weird thing where like she was like there to be seen, but then was mad at being seen.
Or maybe she really thought that the house was going to be empty because they didn't get there until so late that maybe she thought she had the whole place to herself and then was surprised. Like she didn't feel like she had to lock the door. And then when Christina opened the door and shouted to her friend and mom saying like, oh, this one's open. The woman's like, yeah, I know because I'm in here.
I appreciate the attitude. Set your boundaries, even when you're a ghost.
Yeah, it's her house. It's her room. No one should be snooping.
No, but how cool that you can stay in a place like that with that college.
I know. I love that.
Yeah, that's super cool. And such an old historic one, too.
I know. I wish every hotel and bed and breakfast was haunted.
I bet they probably are.
No, but I mean like where you could actually experience something.
Yeah. More than just like the rogue.
I guess I wish
through.
I was more in tune.
That you just saw spirits every day.
Which is I have to be careful, like, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
But I would like to be a little bit more in tune.
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
Yeah. Like a ghost whisperer.
She has some scary experiences.
Versus medium. Oh, well, yeah. I feel like medium, like the Patricia Arquette, like her experiences as if like she's truly her character's
It's based on a real woman who actually has a podcast. Allison.
Oh yeah.
I forget what her last name is, but she has like many books. She has a podcast. She has a huge following on TikTok or maybe on Instagram. I can't remember. I followed her on one of our things.
Well, her experiences are way scarier.
I know.
It's not just about like befriending the local ghost passing through and being like, let me help you. Move on.
Yeah. No, that's a good theme too. We should do that as a full theme, like mediumship contact.
Yeah.
Helping
people move forward or
There's so many topics, so many themes. If you have one that you would like us to cover, please email us and let us know what it is. And if you have ghost stories that you would like to share with us, we are the collectors of your ghost tales. So please email them to us at twogirlsoneghostpodcast@gmail.com.
You can watch us on YouTube. You can listen wherever. Well, I guess if you're already listening, you figured it out. My brain isn't working.
But tell your friends.
You can follow us on social media. That's where I was trying to go.
Yeah.
We also have Patreon, and there's only one tier. It's $5 a month or less if you join annually. We have a ton of bonus content, different offerings there. And we do Campfire Stories, which is a live version of Encounters where you come up onto this virtual stage and tell us your encounter and share with the class.
Unleash your ghost stories. But yeah, we love you all. Thank you for joining us. And thank you to our editor, Jamie, who edits and produces our podcast and who edited out all of the searching for ghost stories so you didn't have to watch us stare at our iPads.
This was smooth for you, right?
Right? We love you.
And we will see you on the other side.
Very smooth.